Hello, I'm Katina Sweetie, and this is Clarinet Chats. Today we are with Laura Grantier, Principal Clarinetist of the United States Navy Band. Hello, Laura, and welcome.
Thank you.
So I would like to know why you picked the clarinet. What was your story behind picking the clarinet?
Well, I was in the 5th grade, and we took a sound test. And the band director called my parents and said, "Hey, your daughter scored really high on this sound test." And so they called us in, and I was sitting next to one of the real popular girls who was a cheerleader, and they said, "Now write down the instrument you want to play." And well, she wrote down the flute. So I wrote down the flute. Then she erased it and she wrote down clarinet. And then I erased mine and wrote down clarinet because I wanted to do what the popular girl did. And so the band director called my parents and said, "Well, your daughter wrote down clarinet, and we feel that she would either do well with the saxophone or the clarinet." And my dad said, "No saxophone, it's too loud." I mean, little did he know that the clarinet would be equally as honky. So I made him eat his words. It was pretty rough going in the beginning.
Nice. So skipping ahead many, many years where it's not so rough going, what was your audition like for the Navy Band?
Well, that's a good question. I remember being at Eastman. I was studying with Ken Grant, and he was showing me a vacancy for the Navy Band, and he's like, "You need to go take this audition." And I said, "But I want to wait and audition for an orchestra." And he goes, "No, you need a job. You're going to go down there and you're going to take this audition." And that was in November of 1994. And I guess I'd been at Eastman a couple months. I was in my first year of my master's. And so all through December and Christmas break, I practiced. The audition was January 13th, 1995, and I remember that because it was Friday the 13th. And so I got down there, and I checked in, and they give you a number, and then you go to the warm-up room. And so they had a first round, and I remember I was clarinet number 9. And so I went in, and I remember I had to play Mozart. It was either Mozart or Weber. And then we had a couple of standard excerpts. It wasn't a very long first round. And then some sight reading, a lot of sight reading. Some marches. We had to play prepared march, a couple of prepared orchestral excerpts, and a band excerpt, and then sight reading. And so then they called my number, and then we had a final round, and there was about 4 of us in the final round. And I remember in the final round we had a solo of our choice, and I played Solo de Concours by Messager. And I played that, and then I remember playing Dances of Galanta. I played another march. I played some Beethoven. I played some Mendelssohn, I think. And then it was all sight reading. And it was really hard sight reading. I mean, I had never seen the Crosley March, which is a Fillmore march. And the Crosley was on the sight reading. And Pineapple Pole, first movement, was on there. And I had never played either one of them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was mean, really mean. But I did the best I could. I think in sight reading, it's important you just have to keep going. You can't fumble around if you miss a note or you squeak or you play a wrong rhythm. You just keep going and I was just trying to keep a steady beat. I didn't care what notes I was playing. I was faking it left and right, but I was keeping a steady beat. And so then after that, they had 2 vacancies open, and so they recommended me and another woman who's actually one of my very best friends, Megan Parisi. And so we were both hired that day, and so I finished my second semester at Eastman. I asked the band if I could finish that semester and do my graduate recital. I didn't finish my master's, sadly, but I was principal of American Russian Youth Orchestra, and I did a tour that summer. So I won the job in January, but I didn't go into boot camp till July 31st, which was kind of a long time. They were not unhappy with me, but I definitely pushed the limit of how long between the time I was able to get through all of the military portion that I needed to get to boot camp. But I really wanted to do American Russian and do my graduate recital.
Sure.
And so then I reported to the band in October of 1995. So that's 20 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Was that the first audition you ever took?
It was the second. I took a Marine Band audition when I was a senior in college, April of 1993, and made it all the way to the final round. I think they had 3 vacancies open, but they had 3 of us there, and they offered 2 of the vacancies, but they didn't offer me the 3rd vacancy. I think they liked what I was doing, but they were on the fence. And, I think everything works out for a reason. I was disappointed because I was about to graduate from college, and I was like, oh, man. But that 1 year at Eastman just musically did so much for me. So it was an incredible year musically. And then I won the Navy Band audition, 6 or 7 months later. So they were within a year of each other. But just the musical maturity of that time from when I took the audition in April of 93 to when January 94 just was like this. So everything happened. Nothing is ever random.
So, with your experience in the Navy Band, do you have any particular memorable performances that stick out to you?
Well, the one that stands out the most was when we played the United in Memory ceremony, which was October 11th, 2001. It was exactly 1 month after 9/11. And it stands out for obvious reasons, but American patriotism was at an all-time high. And I remember our boss, we had a meeting before we went out to play, and they said, look, all the presidents are going to be there. President Bush's staff, they're all there. The families are there of the victims. They're all there. They're going to be on the front row in front of you. And we're playing all these, Amazing Grace, all these wonderful, beautiful pieces of music, very moving. And they said, do your best to maintain your composure, because this is going to be difficult. And it was. It was emotionally the hardest job I've ever had to do. But I never felt more patriotic than when we played Battle Hymn of the Republic in that ceremony. And you could see people were starting to stand and wave their American flags. And it was like they were doing the wave, but it was with American flags. And they were just like, it was like this sea of American flags just kind of rising up and coming towards you. And it just gave me a chill. Even when I think about it, it's so, it's so strong, that memory.
To be a part of American history and to be there for all those people and to bring them comfort and to be unified.
It was devastating what had happened, and yet out of that devastation was this unity and pride, and I don't think there'll ever be another job like that we did that has so much meaning, such a range of emotions of pride and devastation and anger and sadness and yet joy. And you get to be a part of it. You get to see it. I mean, we have performed funerals for fallen veterans where there's no family there. The band is their family. And we never phone it in. I mean, every time we play Eternal Father, every time we play America the Beautiful, we mean it. Because that is the music that those families, or that fallen veteran, that's their ceremony. That's the last part of their physical presence on earth. And we're, providing that music. And I don't care how bad I feel. I mean, or how cold I am, or if it's raining, or how hot I am. It means something. So, and that's the meat and potatoes of our job, is providing those ceremonies, those funerals at Arlington for those families and for those fallen veterans. It's huge. You can't just send a pre-recorded piece of music for something as intimate as that. And you don't think about that when you're auditioning for the band, of what you're actually getting into. You think about playing concerts or going on tour or playing a solo, but really the importance of our job is always driven home when you see the look on the family's face, or the band gets a letter, or someone after a tour concert, they'll come up to you and shake your hand, or they'll hug you and they'll say, "My dad served in the Navy," or "My dad was in World War II. Thank you for playing the service song." It means something to them. And they're watching. When we're out there in uniform and we're playing, they are watching and listening, and they want to tell you their story. They want to tell you their family member that served in the Navy, or, everybody's got a story. And I always try to take the time to listen, because our music has touched them in some way.
It's great. It's a wonderful job. It really is.
It really is. When you think about the gravity of what we do, I think being a performing classical musician is becoming obsolete. The military is the largest employer of professional musicians. And I think the Army actually has the largest number of musicians, and then, of course, you have Marine and Air Force and Navy. But it is, of course, the mission is always about providing music for the Navy and our elected dignitaries, the President, Secretary of Defense. But part of the mission is morale, playing concerts for patrons, recordings, making CD recordings that libraries can have, that people can check out and listen to. We put a lot of our music on YouTube now, so that people can just download it just like this and listen to music. Touring is really special, because when you're in Washington, there are so many things. It's sensory overload. In the summer, you can go to a military band concert every day of the week, and the National Symphony, and the opera, and it's all kinds of stuff. When we're on tour, sometimes that's the only part of the Navy people will see, physically. And if we're really out in a small town, that's the main event. And it's packed, and people want to hear the music, and we get their feedback. They send in emails, and people enjoy it. And like I said, every job has pros and cons, but when you think about it, I hear so many people, either on TV or on the internet, they were like, "I hate my job. I hate my job. It's just a paycheck." And I can't say that. I get to do what I love every day. I may not always feel great. I may not always sound great. But I get to do what I love, what I've trained to do, and I've been doing it for almost half my life. And I feel blessed. And the Navy provides for my family health care, vacation time. My children are able to see me all the time. I take them to school and pick them up. I go to basketball and I go to orchestra concerts and violin lessons and football games. And it's important as a parent. You know, being a parent is my number one job, but the Navy is the vehicle that allows me to do that job. And for that, I'll always be grateful. And it's priceless. You cannot put a dollar sign on time and experiences that you have with your loved one. And I think at least our organization is very, very sensitive and positive and good about our people that work there and their families. If there's ever a family member who's sick or needs medical attention, they're very good about saying, you've got to go take care of that. And that makes you feel good. It makes my family feel good. So it's more than just about me. Of course, my friends like to say, oh, it's all about you. Not really.
Well, speaking of not all about you, tell me about Clarinet Day. So,
Clarinet Day, my little engine that could. Well, I started it back in 2012 with my friend Eugene Mondie. I was actually finishing up my doctorate at Catholic University, and I was studying with Eugene. And we kind of got this idea. Mainly, he was like, hey, should we do some kind of master class? It just came up like, let's do a master class and get some students. Okay. And then I went to my section and I said, hey, you guys want to do a recital and you play a sonata, you play a movement of a concerto? And some were like, yeah. And I have this, all of a sudden they all want to play. And so the mission of it was kind of born out of Eugene and I wanting to have this master class, and he would lead it. And then that first day, I think we had maybe 15 students, but we talked about equipment and what we played on. We did actually a jazz improv clinic. We had the clarinet choir, side-by-side student and Navy Band section player, clarinet player, and we had a master class. And it was, I just couldn't believe I actually organized it and did it. And then the next year came around in 2013, and we had a government shutdown. We decided to have it in November. And the government decided to shut down, and we didn't have access to the website, any government website. We didn't have any funds. And so Eugene said, well, let me talk to my teacher, Larry Combs. And so he talked to Larry Combs and Julie DeRoche at DePaul, and they came out and donated their time. So Clarinet Day 2013 had Larry Combs and Julie DeRoche, and we had our first ever joint service clarinet quartet recital, where we had clarinet players from each band, which was great because the people that came to support their band, they were all there. It was standing room only. It was awesome. And then last year we had Mitch Estrin from the University of Florida, who's very well known. He's a wonderful player, pedagogue. He has an amazing clarinet choir at University of Florida. And then Mark Gallagher, who's used to be in the Navy Band, and then he went on to, he teaches at Frostburg State. He's a clarinet professor there. And he did a clinic on Alexander technique, which I thought was fantastic. And the year before, we had a live chat with Mary Alice Druin from Texas A&M Commerce on hand injuries, and Jeremy Reynolds from the University of Denver talking about auditioning for a private music school versus public college, which was very interesting, because out of that he said some private colleges allocate more scholarship money for students than a public university, but you have to check with each individual institution. And I thought that was very informative for someone who's auditioning for colleges and universities. So this year we have Jeremy Reynolds. Dr. Reynolds is coming from University of Denver. He's going to be a guest artist. And we're going to have Eugene, Mondie. Last year, I should say that Paul Seigan and Eugene played a duet. They did a Mendelssohn concert piece. They were fantastic. And the year before, Eugene actually did the Brahms trio, which was great. This year, on the artist recital, so Dr. Reynolds will have half the recital, and then Eugene Mondie will have the other half. And I know Eugene's going to do the Weber Quintet, the whole thing. And then Dr. Reynolds is playing, he's doing the Bach Chromatic Fantasy, which I can't wait to hear. It's like an incredible piece. And then he's doing some French music that I can't pronounce. But it's a great program. I looked at his program, I looked at Eugene's program. I think it's going to be a nice balance of chamber music. And then we have a mock audition, which we're introducing for the first time. So this is for any high school junior through college that might want to understand what it's like to take a live audition behind a screen, completely objective. We have a list of excerpts. We'll choose excerpts from that list, and they'll play behind a screen. We have 3 panelists. So it'll be Dr. Reynolds, Eugene Mondie, and Master Chief Retired Mike McDonald, who retired in the spring. He was principal clarinet of the Navy Band for 19 years. And he's probably sat on more auditions than anybody. And he hired over the majority of our clarinets. So I think having the 3 of them will be a wealth of knowledge that they can give comments to each person that auditions, good constructive comments. But the applicants will all be behind a screen, and then we're hoping at the end of the day they can receive their comments. It's not a competition. If we have someone that just really stands out and does a really great job, we'll definitely acknowledge them. But I think the most important thing to take away from something like this is it's an invaluable tool if you're auditioning for college, solo and ensemble, all-state band. If you're auditioning for a job, this is a really great way to just test out your skills and to deal with your performance anxiety and how you manage it. A lot of taking an audition is just how you mentally manage yourself. And I think, we also offer free lessons. Everything is free. Well, it's never free, but the Navy is very generous, and I've had incredible support for my event, and it's been increasing by leaps and bounds each year.
No, it's great. I've been to all of them. And
have you really?
Yeah, I have.
So you know.
No, they're wonderful. I love them all. So I'm very encouraging of all my students to go. Like, you guys have to go to this.
I just think it offers so many different things. They can sit in the clarinet choir. They can hear the joint service recital, which I love because we have such amazing clarinet players. And I love the artist recitals because the people we select that we have come, they're always just so wonderful and amazing. And we have this new element of a mock audition, and then our principal saxophonist is going to do a jazz clinic, and he's a scream. I mean, he is a walking entertainer. When they say somebody has it, he has it. I mean, I think he's just gonna bring the house down. I think the students will love him.
Great.
So yeah.
Yay. It sounds wonderful. Now I'm very excited to go again. So.
Yes, and we're going to have Buffet, Bakun, Van Doren, D'Addario. I think Ramon Wachowski is coming. I believe Ben Redwine is coming. I'm trying to think. Well, Wes Rice is coming on behalf of Buffet, so he's bringing equipment, and Bakun and Wes Rice are going to offer free repairs, I think up to a value of $20. So if you need a pad repaired or something. But it's an incredible chance to try equipment. I mean, I think we're going to have a lot of pros there trying all the clarinets and mouthpieces and ligatures, and it'll just be a big old clarinerd fest.
It'll be great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So much. This was great.
Thank you.
It was wonderful.
I'll talk all night if you let me.